nice to see everybody here today, and thanks for Reed Corporate putting this event on. Look, I'm going to give you an update today regarding the resurgence of two projects which were once referred to as being the treasury of Sweden. Both polymetallic projects were dominated by copper, silver and zinc of such high grade and value that they were coveted by multiple Swedish kings over many centuries. The Sala silver zinc lead project and the Farlon or Greater Farlon copper gold zinc silver lead project had all but been forgotten about in modern times. And I'm talking about the last 100 years. But the work that we've undertaken during the last year has really awoken these giants from their slumber. There's been little to no modern exploration outside of the known deposits in the Greater Farlon and Sala projects. Exactly the type of opportunity that our team can add significant value to. And the team you recognise on a slide in a bit as having had some massive success over the last few years. But Alocanto offers you unique potential upside and potential exposure to these two projects at different phases of the exploration cycle, with a completely redefined greenfields opportunity at Greater Farlon, but also an advanced brownfield exploration opportunity at the Sala project, with historical reported bonanza grades of up to 7,000 grams per tonne silver. I see a massive opportunity for the clever investor to jump on board now before we deliver our maiden resource at Sala, and I'll talk a bit more about that. And the longer our market cap stays down around that $40 to $45 million mark, the more upward pressure is going to be applied on that, because there's definitely more than $40 million worth of metal sitting in the ground. Just draw your attention to the disclaimer, of course. I won't go into the details. You can read that either on our website or I put this presentation out on the ASX this morning. But please pay particular attention to the forward-looking statements. So why Alocanto? So there's four things that I really want you to take away from this presentation. We're very fortunate to be right in the centre of a Tier 1 mining location in the Bergslagen in Sweden, with two historical projects out of 4 in the area with a high-grade production profile. We have the greenfields exploration, as I mentioned, at Greater Farlon, where we've been successfully hitting high-grade gold and copper and a bit of zinc over the last year. But we've also had, for the more impatient investor, our brownfields opportunity at Sala, which we've been exploring at since early this year. We have the right team that comes with tremendous recent success, and we've had over 1,000 years of geology turned on its head, and that's how long these projects have been in operation, which is a long time. But in essence, the Bergslagen has been sport for having these giant ore bodies popping up at surface, and they've been known about for a long time. But I guess circumstance has really meant that there's been little to no modern exploration undertaken in these areas over this period of time. And we find ourselves in a very fortunate position to have control of 2 out of 4 major projects within the region. But I'll come to that. On top of that, we're also drilling, and I see the potential upside as massive. On the corporate snapshot side, just quickly, look, well funded. We did a cap raise about a year ago of $6 million. We've still got most of, or over half of that left in the bank at the end of August, with further funds expected to be coming through the sale of our Guyana project. Our top 20 shareholders control over 50% of the company, with board and management controlling 13%, and I'm very grateful for their support. On the team itself, look, most guys on here don't need any introduction, with our chairman Ray Shorrocks, who's come on board a couple of years ago, and of course with Didier, Mike Naylor, and of course Steve Parsons being my major shareholder, sitting on around about 9% of the company, being a massive support. But probably more importantly, the ace in the pack, I think, is our chief geologist, Erik Lundström. He and I have been mates for 25 years, since I was working up there in Sweden back in the 90s. He's had 6 major discoveries in Sweden in his own right, and he's now working on his 7th. So Sweden, why Sweden? Well, as I just mentioned, so I spent 6 years working up in that part of the world. I speak fluent Swedish, so Really managed a couple of their big projects over in that part of the world, so I know the land well. One of my very good friends, Eric Lundstrom, we've known each other for over 25 years. He's the best in the business up there, and we got together a few years ago just talking about what opportunities we could see up in that part of the world. But many of you probably don't know too much about Sweden, but it has a very long mining history. There's really three main areas up there. We've got the big iron ore mines up in the north. You've got the Skellefteå field where Boliden is mostly focused up in the Skellefteå district there. And then you have the Bergslagen, which is probably one of the most mineralised places on earth, very famous amongst geologists. But having worked in Sweden for so many years, I've found it to have many similarities with the Australian mining industry. But its differences with Australia make it stand out as a Tier 1 mining jurisdiction. I mean, really, all my key infrastructure is already in place. I don't need to worry about educating a pro-mining workforce, building highways, railways, power stations, water access or high-speed communications, because it's already there. And I'm 120 kilometres from Stockholm with a pro-mining workforce and educated people. But I also mentioned the four projects, the main projects within the Bergslagen, being the Garpenberg mine, which is only 50 kilometres away from Sala, very, very similar geology. Eric was actually the chief geologist on that mine that was going to close in 2000. He was leading the team that discovered over 130 million tonnes and 30 years of production sitting in between the two mines. And is applying the same science, again in the unloved projects at Sala and at Greater Farlon. So just quickly, and last time I'll talk too much about Greater Farlon because our focus over the last 6 months has been at Sala, but look, as a miner, grade is king, and we've intersected some amazing grades in both the Greater Farlon and Sala projects, with our best hits at Farlon being 9.5% copper, 16 grams per tonne gold, 285 of silver, 3.9 of lead and 8.2 of zinc, just 75 metres from surface at Lustibel. But we've also hit 41% zinc, which I announced yesterday, and 633 grams per tonne silver at Sala, and these really are a beacon for what's possible in the area. We've been very busy the last 12 months, so much so that we've re-engineered our understanding of the driving force behind the high-grade mineralisation within Farlon. And what we're doing at the moment now, even though our drill rigs are over at Sala, is we're really getting ourselves set up for a big drilling campaign potentially next year. But as I said, whilst waiting for these drilling applications at Farlon, a focus since June has been the brownfields opportunity at Sala. We currently have 2 drill rigs testing the extensions of the historical Sala mine. A third rig is on site, we're just waiting on people. We've announced the results of the first 6 holes, approximately 5,000 metres of drilling completed out of a 14,000 metre drilling program, and that's what we believe we need to produce a maiden resource at Sala in the next few months. Given our current drilling at Sala, as I said, I'll focus the rest of this presentation on that work, but being only 120 kilometres from Stockholm, 100 kilometres from Farlon and only 50 kilometres from Garpenberg, connected by national highways, railways, Sala was a logical step forward to us when we saw it. With similar geology to the Greater Farlon project and Garpenberg, Sala is a very rich polymetallic silver, lead, zinc dominated skarn, but like Farlon, until now there has been little to no exploration at depth, with Sala only mined down to 290 metres, believe it or not, but they pulled 200 million ounces of silver out of it at an average grade of 1,244 grams per tonne. You can do your own calculations, but that's a pretty high grade when you compare that back to gold. As per announcement in early August, we've replicated the historical multiple high-grade wide intersections in a 100-metre step-out from the historical drilling, demonstrating that Sala is still very much open at depth and along strike. And then, as per my announcement yesterday, we intersected the 41% zinc and 41% zinc, 16.3% lead, 633 grams per tonne silver, to go with a bunch of other intersections that are looking very nice. Maiden inferred resource in the coming months, as I mentioned. Given the successful start of the fully funded Phase 1 14,000 metre drilling program, which we're about halfway through now, first 6 holes have come back, they're looking very nice, but we're not stopping there. We're continuing to drill the extents of the known mineralisation with the intent of drilling out the maiden resource. I've said first quarter of next year, but I'm hoping we can do it quicker. With multiple stacked high-grade lenses hosted within around about 250 metre mineralised zone over 1,600 metres in strike and 500 metres down depth. That's purely the area that we're targeting for the maiden resource, but we know that it's much bigger than that because we've seen the mineralisation at surface. And it's open in all directions, including at depth. So we're very excited to see those results as it comes out. And we can see a massive potential for a big system. Highlights to date. I'll just put this slide in here just to demonstrate. Look, we've been putting out regular information over the last couple of years, but I fully expect that as we continue with the drilling and get closer to our maiden resource at Sala, that's going to continue and will continue on into the next year. So just to summarise, I guess, the key takeaways from this presentation. Look, our work over the last 12 months at Farlon has rapidly advanced our understanding of the geology, and we now have over 15 targets that we are continuing to advance. We're working on the background to get those applications up and running, and as I mentioned, we'll continue that work next year. Our main focus at the moment is a massive opportunity that we see at Sala, with over 200 million ounces produced of silver down to the relatively shallow depth of 290 metres. We are rapidly approaching the maiden resource, and that current 14,000 metre drilling program, which we're halfway through, is going really well. With recent assays, over 40% zinc and 1,000 grams per tonne silver and 16% lead, it's true what they say, that grade is king in our world, but as we are progressing, our understanding of both of these systems' size is also coming to the fore. But I guess finally, if you're going to take one thing away from my presentation, it is, do your own research. There's more than $40 million worth of metal sitting in the ground. Our resource is coming out hopefully in the new year, in the beginning of the new year, and I think you're going to be surprised when you see what value there is in the company. Thank you very much.